So in this section, we are going to learn Python statements. If statement, if and else statement means the conditional statements. So Python conditional if statement, how we can use it and why it is necessary to use. So if you have any queries, any logics in your program to execute, you use a conditional statement. Either it can be true, either it can be false. Based on this, the program should execute. So Python support the usual logical condition from mathematics. Like if you put double equals, it means you are telling that it is a condition, not we are assigning a value. We are telling that this value is equal to this value. Is it correct? Then it will execute as it's true, as its output always comes in the boolean. Either it can be true, either it can be false. So if it's not true, if it's not equal, like we are declaring that our a is not equal to b, so we are telling it's not equal to already in the statement. So what should be the result? If a is equal to b, then the answer will be false, and if it's not equal, then it's right, because we are telling that it is not equal. So based on our own use cases, on situation and scenarios, we use these different kinds of logical conditions, so we can execute our program without any issue. So these are useful whenever we create any application where we have to use some sort of condition that if this is true, then we have to do that. If it's false, it should not do that. So in that scenarios, it is the best use case of conditionals in our code base. So less than or equal to. So for now, we are just seeing how it looks, but when it applicable, it will be practical when we are doing programming. So in these few minutes, are going to run the program and learning how it's work in depth. So you can see that we have more conditions. So what I think, if we do practical coding, then we can understand it more better in a better way. So these conditionals are used to use in several ways, most common in if statement and loops. We will be exploring loops in the loop section. It is a all new topic for us, but the if statement we are currently exploring, and it has a bunch of different topics which we will cover up in this section. So don't worry about that. And whenever we write the code, we understood it more in better way. So here is a condition. We have a code. So just click on this and run this code to better understand how it's work. So if we zoom in and try to see what is happening, so we have a is equal to 33. It means we are storing a value of 33 in a variable a, and now the variable a has a data type of integer, because we are storing an integer, and it has 200. The b variable contains 200. It means it has a data type of integer also. So here we have written a small condition if statement, so you can better understand how it's work. So if b is greater than a, print this stuff. So if you remove that and if you see this, it is just a condition, and either it can be true, either it can be false. So if you click on this, then it will give something like this. So if you try to run this without any indentation, the same line with the if statement, it gives you an error. So best practice is that if you put a space before writing any output or any stuff you want to do after this particular condition becomes true. So I put the print. So if we run this, then we can see that it will tell us that b is greater than a. What if this value goes wrong? So if we have the b value smaller than a, what will be the output? We will get nothing, because we don't have any condition for if a is greater than b. So how we can do that? So we can do it with putting another if statement. So in this we can say that b is smaller than a. So in this way, we have to put the space and put that and tell that A is greater than B. So if we run this, so if this condition is not true, then this condition will work. Okay, so this is the best use case of it, but it will be a great way to, there is a great way to write this, and I will be telling that in few seconds. So what if these two values are equal to each other? In this case, if we have this, what will the answer? It will doesn't have any answer for us. It just because we don't have any condition for it, so we have to create condition for this also. So for that we have to put that B is equal to A. So we can say that B is equal, A is equal to B. So what will happen? So if this condition is not true, then it will run this condition, and if this is not true, then it will goes to this and tell that B is equal to A. And you can see that we have used if, and it is not a best practice to write a condition, because whenever we think in English or in literature or maybe in our own logical way, we say that if it's not equal, then it should be equal to this. If this is not equal to that, then it should be. So we are putting then, means one condition is related to the another condition. Here we doesn't have any relation between these conditions. You can see that each condition is different, means each condition telling us that A is greater than B, B is smaller than A, B is equal to A. However, it looks great, but it's not a best practice. So what is the best practice? If you put else, you can see that if we have to put if first, then else. If else, else if, okay, else if we have to have. So if this condition is not true, else it will be true. If it's not true, then else in the default it may be uh, true. So you can see that here we have another error. Why I don't know. I think if comes first. If we run this, then we can see still it is showing an error. Why it is showing an error? So I think we have to put this, because these both are different logics. So our logics are good, but here we have some errors. So whenever we have some errors, we can go to ChatGPT and tell it what the error is. So you should not fully dependent on it, but for errors you can use it as a guide who can find out what the error is and how you can resolve it. So you can use it as a QA, not a coder. So if you dependent on coding all of this stuff from ChatGPT, it will be the worst scenario for you. So without that, we just have to see what is an error. So it's tell us about that if else, elif we have. So in Python we don't have elif, else if we have elif. So that's because it's showing error. If we have elif, if we run this, now it will run. Hopefully, still not working. Not what is telling that no condition else. So what should we have? What should be the final stuff? So we should remove this because it's telling on. So when we are going to give any default scenario, like if these both condition, if it's not equal greater than A, if it's not smaller than, then defaultly it will be equal. So if it's not greater or not smaller, the middle stuff will be an default point, means it will be the else. So we doesn't need any condition for it. So if we run this, then you can see the output. B is equal to A. Because B is not greater to A and B is not smaller than A. So what the else condition will remain is B is equal to A. So if we increase value, we will see B is greater than A. Then you can see that B is now greater than A. This condition is wrong. Other conditions are false. However, this condition may be a default, but if any of this one is become true, it will already going to be false and it will not run. So if we remove this and make the b smaller, so the second condition will become true, a is greater than b. Then you can see that this is how if and else work, and this is how our bigger application work based on this condition. So that look for few conditions. If user is registered on the website, we have to go to the onboarding or login page or the home page. If user is not signed up, we have to redirect to them towards the login page. So this is how these stuff work. On the way we will be exploring the stuff in depth, but for right now we just have to know how these things work. So in this example, we use two variables a and b, which are used as a part of the statement to test whether b is greater than. We have already done that, so we don't have to read them all. How if statement works? The if statement evaluates a condition, an expression that results in true or false. As we have discussed, if the condition is true, the code block inside the if statement is executed. If the condition is false, the code block is skipped. So we already do that. We already have know that if this condition is become true, then this output will we get. If it's not true, then it will go to second condition. If it's not true, then it's go to third condition. And what if we print this instead of the value to just see what we will get, so we can understand it more in better way. So we are telling that if the condition is wrong, then it will give us true and false statements. So let's see. Defaultly, we tell that A is equal to B. So if B is greater than A, what it will print? It will print this, means true and false. So here what is happening, we have to uh, think in depth. We have A is greater than B, so our first condition is no more true, so it will not print this one. But we have B is smaller than A, which is true, means we will get the condition output. So the condition output will be always in boolean, either it will be true or false. So the condition is true, that is why we get true. And if we remove this, you will not see anymore the true, because we doesn't have any condition for that, and it's become false because either it's not greater, b is not greater than a, and also a is not equal to b. So we doesn't have this third condition, so it will defaultly show that it's a false. So this is how it works. So let's copy this code and learn it in better way. So we have a number 15, means that if we have a number 15, if we run a condition that if number is greater than 0, print the number is positive. So if we run this, what will be the answer? It will say that the number is positive because we have uh, the 15 is positive number. So if we put a negative number, what will be the output? So in this scenario, you just need one condition uh, else condition and put it here, and we should say that is negative. So if it's not true, this will become true. The number is negative, either it's positive or negative. What if we have 0? In this case, the both condition becomes false. So it's telling that if so we have to put equal to also. What if we have equal value? So it has become false because 0 is not a positive or neither negative. So we have to create another function, another condition, sorry. So in the default, we should say that it's equal to 0. And our this condition becomes same as it is. If it's smaller than 0, it becomes negative. So we already know that we have to put elif so for other conditions. So if it's true, it will prove this. So if it's not true, then it's go for this. If it's also not true, then it's go for this condition. So the last condition is true because we doesn't match this both conditions. So defaultly it's equal to the number we have. So the number is equal to 0. What if we put 10? Then it will say that the number is positive because this first condition will become true. What if we put minus sign, negative sign? Then it will say that the number is negative. So hopefully you understand how it's work. For better understanding, you can write code by yourself to get deeper understanding how it's work. So keep in mind that we need indentation, means space. We already have putting some space before this. If we remove the space, then the stuff will not now will run and it will give you an error. So keep in mind that you have to put indentation, means you have to put space whenever you calling any condition. It's mandatory. It's depend on you, either you put one space or two. Based on that, you have to put the space for other condition also. Like if you were putting 3 space before the print function or other stuff, you have to keep same for other. If you don't do that, then it will show an error again. If we have, because this condition is not true, so that's why it's not going towards this condition and it's not showing that. If we make the condition true, then it will run this and it will show the exact result. So it is best practice to put same indentation. However, it's now scenario it's not working, but in future it will definitely going to check this out. So you have to keep in mind that you have to put indentation, otherwise it will rise an error. Not that you can use space or tab to indentation, but you must use the same amount of indentation for all statements within the same code block. So multiple condition in if block. We have different conditions, but what if we have many output in same condition? So if age is 20 and if we store 20 and if age is greater than or equal to 18, then you should put you are adult, you are what you can vote, you can have legal rights. So in our case, age 20 is greater than 18, so it's telling us that. But if we remove this and put smaller value like 17, then there will be no condition. So in this scenario, you have to put else if or else statement to have a condition if these condition not match or this condition not become true. So let's move on towards using variables in condition. So what is that mean? Like we use these kind of condition in our uh, actual applications where we see that is user is logged or not. In this scenario, we have a boolean, not any variable. So if log in, then it's true. Login is true. What will the outcome? If we just put the variable name, it means it's true. So it will run this. And if we run this, we will get welcome back. What if we have this statement false? So we doesn't have any condition for that. So best practice is that if we put else, because we don't have as if go back. If we don't have, if we run this, if this condition is false, now it will say that go back. If we have it's true, it will tell us that welcome back. So based on these booleans values, the conditions changes. So yeah, it's the best way to use that. So Python can evaluate many types of value as true or false in an if statement. Zero, empty string, none, and empty collection are treated as false. Everything else is treated as true. This includes positive numbers, negative numbers, and any non-empty string. Even false is treated as true because it's not empty string. So yeah, this is how it's work. Let's do this exercise to get better understanding how it's work. So what does an if statement evaluate? A condition that results in true and false, a variable name. Obviously, it's telling us that a condition that results in true and false. So that's the correct answer. So let's move on towards the next thing. We have else if. However, we have already discussed that, so we will move fast. This topic, else if statements. But for right now, let's move more deeper into it and learn how it's actually work. So the else keyword in Python way of saying if the previous condition were not true, then try this condition. So the else keyword allow you to check multiple expressions uh, for true and execute a block of code as soon as one of the condition evaluates to true. So we already have done this and we have no, but in this section, let's get deeper dive into it. So A and B are equal. We can see that. So in application, we doesn't know where is it A and B, and it will be in our database. So we are going to fetch the data from somewhere else, and we are just giving the conditions. So the condition will tell us either it's true or false. So if B is greater than A, then print B is greater than A. If it's not true, what will happen? It will be equal to, if second condition is telling that A is equal to B, which is true, then it will print out A and B are equal. Yes. So what if, let's run this. What if these both conditions are not true? So in this condition, we have one stuff is true. So it's telling that A and B are equal. What if we have B is smaller than A? So we don't have any condition. So if you have learned from the previous stuff, you can understand that we can have another condition in which we can say that if B is not greater than A, then A is greater than B. A is uh, greater than B. So now we have both conditions, three conditions. So you can see that B is now A is greater than B now. So this is how you can use if else statement. We already have done that, so I'm not getting more in depth. But in the coming up section, we will be exploring it more in depth. So what this statement tell us about? In this example, A is equal to B. So the first condition is not true. So it's telling about this one. So first condition is not true, but the else condition is true. So print to the screen will be that A and B are equal. So if we run this, in this case B should be equal because we have equal values. We have copied that. Then you can see that A and B are equal. So multiple elif statement. So we only explore few 1 and 2 elif statements, but it's a best practice to have multiple. So we can use in this scenario where we have uh, multiple conditions, like if the student scores uh, is greater than 90 or equal to, it will be a grade A. If score is equal to or greater than 80, it will be B. Based on that, other conditions become. And if we have the last condition where student will be fail, so we can use else only condition and just put space and print that uh, a failed. I failed to write the failed stuff. So if we run this, so our score is 75. So it is telling that grade is C because we had a condition here. If it's equal to or greater than 70, it's now the grade will be this. What if we have 55? So smaller than 60 will be failed. So however, the spelling is not correct. So let's run this again. So you can see that this is how you can use the if and else multiple statements. In this example, the program checks in each condition in order. Since score is 75, it's print grade C, as we have seen that the first condition that evaluates to true. How elif works? When you use elif, Python evaluates the condition from top to bottom. As soon as it finds a condition that is true, it executes that block and skip all remaining conditions. Important. Only the first true condition will be executed even the multiple conditions are true. So if our programs get the first condition true, then it will not run other condition. If other condition is also true, so it will not run. So if we try to have that, let's see. If we say that if it's smaller than 80, smaller than 70, smaller than this, and equal to and equal to, we put that we have all the stuff good. But if we have uh, 55 here and we put equal to, what it is going to run? It will only run this condition. Either if it's go to fail, if it's not true, like the score is not greater than 55, it's equal to, so it will tell us 20, the condition B. So it only runs the one condition which is true. Either all the remaining conditions are true, it will not go for further. So you can try out with these conditions by yourself. Um, so it's just similar, so I'm just skipping that. When to use elif? Use elif when you have multiple mutual exclusive conditions to check. This is more efficient than using multiple separative statement because Python stops checking once it finds a true condition. So what I'm actually telling that, what if we only use if statements? Uh, let's make it right, make it correct. So in this condition, our grade will be C. And what if we use if only if statement? There will be no relation with the other condition now. So if any of these condition meets the actual, it will print all of this stuff. Then you can see that 75 is greater than 60 and equal to 60. So it's also print this. So when you only give it a if statement, if both if statement become true, it will run both, and it is not a best practice. So for relation we use else. So these all conditions are related with each other. So one become true means other will not execute. So you have to keep in mind. Let's do the exercise for better understanding. What does the elif keywords means? And the if statement, if the previous condition is or not true, try this condition. Yeah, I think this is work. Yeah, it's definitely going to work. So let's move on towards else condition. We have already explored how it's work. Right now we have to get some basic understanding how it actually works. So let's deep dive into it. So the else keyword catches anything which is not covered by the proceed conditions, like the if the else statement is executed when the if condition and if else if condition evaluate to false. So when we have other conditions which are not true, then we should have a default condition, which is in our case else, and almost even programming language we had a else condition, which is a default condition. So in the first condition, we are telling that b is greater than a, which is not true. So it will goes towards the next condition in which we are telling that a is equal to b. In this case, a is not equal to b either. So it will goes for the default result. So what is the default result? A and a is greater than b. A is greater than b. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that you cannot change anything. You can do whatsoever you can print, and always the default will be print. It doesn't matter what you are going to print for, but for meaningful stuff, we are actually printing the stuff which is uh, happening, where we are saying that A is greater than B. So whatsoever if we have um, 20, what it means b is greater than a, then the first condition becomes true. B is greater than a. So this is how else statement work. Else statement in this example, a is greater than b. So the first condition, is not true. This condition not true, and also the elif condition is not true. And the third condition which remains, so it go for the else condition and print to the screen that a is greater than b. So it's happening, that's because we already have explored that. That's why I'm not going deeper to it, but just for quick understanding, we are reading the documentation. So how else work? The else statement provides a default action. When none of the previous conditions are true, think of it as a catch-all for any scenario not covered by your if and else statement. Note that the else statement must come last. You cannot have else statement after elif statement after and else. You cannot do this because the if statement is the starting point, then the else statement should be the ending point, and the center middle condition should be the elif. So this is how it's work. So we have to keep in mind that we have to follow this scenario. So likewise, we have other condition where we are using ln if and else statements. You can use that. We have a chain of if and else statement where we are using multiple. elif conditions, you definitely have to going to try out these stuff so you can better understand, because I will be not giving all of the stuff by myself, because it will make you overwhelmed. You can try out them by yourself. I will be only telling the stuff which is more valuable for you. So in this case we are have to learn this stuff, how to print a variable in our conditions. So we have a username, uh, email, and if the length of username is greater than 0, what will happen? It will print an f string. F string can contain a variable. It is a variable which is dynamic, which is coming from here. So if you have watched my previous videos, you will better understand how f string works. And f string totally makes the string dynamic, and you can use variable name from anywhere. So this is how it works. So email, welcome email, so you can change it, and based on that, every stuff in the content will be changed. So welcome speckle. So what is we are going to tell that length is, if greater than 0, then it will tell us this condition will become true. What if we have to say that if the length of username is greater than 10, then it should print this. It's not true, so it will show an error that user cannot be empty. Okay, so if we give it an empty value and keep it this, then the second condition becomes true. Let's go for an exercise. It's towards a short section where we just explore few small stuff. So what does the else statement execute? When if condition and any else conditions are false, we use the else condition because it will be true. That is the default condition for us. So you can see that it's true. So let's move on towards next section where we are going to learn more important topic, which is shorthand if. It is more usable in industry than this if and else statement. Python shorthand if. What does that mean? We have used conditionals if and else statements in which we have to write a lines of code just to execute some conditions we have. Here we use shorthand statements, which is useful to write multiple conditions in same line without going to further lines, and it is shorter than the if and else statement. So if you have only one statement to execute, you can put it on the same line as the if statement. So we already have used the if and else statement where we have to write in multiple lines. You can see here, but in this we just write the stuff in same line. So if this condition is true, it will print this. So if we run this, you will see it is correct and it will execute, because this is called shorthand if statements in Python. So we don't need to write multiple lines of code. We can execute them in one line. So you still need to put the colon that denote our conditional statement. So we have to have that. So shorthand if and else statement, we can have the both statement in same line. How is it possible? So if you use this, copy this and paste it here, and what we are telling that we will only get one output, I think, because we are printing A if A is greater than B. We will print A if A is greater than B, else it will print B. So if we run this, then you will see A because A is greater than B. So this is first condition. If this condition is not true, then defaultly this condition is maybe true, and in our case it's false. So if we make it true, like we are putting A is greater smaller than B, then it will print out B. So this is very short and it is coming in one line, so it is more useful than if and else statement. So yeah, it's the best use case of how we can use if and else shorthands. So this is called conditional expression, sometimes known as the ternary operators. It is also called as ternary operators. Whenever you listen about ternary operators, you have to keep in mind that it's always telling about these kind of conditions. Assign a value with if else statement. You can also assign a value with an if and else statement. How it will be possible? Let's try out. So you have to have variables a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20, and we are telling that it should the bigger number should contain a if the a is greater than b. If b is greater, then else statement will run and the value should be b. So if we run this, then it will come up with the bigger value. So the bigger value in our case is 20. So it is displaying 20 to us. So yeah, this is how it's work, and this is you can also try out stuff just to make screen much more cleaner. So yeah, this is how it's work. So if you have a is greater, then this will definitely going to turn everything, and it is telling the bigger distance. So it is more dynamic. The bigger value will contain a if a is greater than b. If in this case it's true and it's putting the value a to bigger and it is 100, and else condition is not true, so it's not going towards the else condition. The syntax follows this pattern. Variable value if true, this value will be given if this condition is true and it is the condition, and else this value will be assigned. So this is how it works. Multiple conditions in one line. You can change conditions expression but keep it short so it stay readable. You can have multiple conditions in same line. So for doing that, you just have to use I think else statement. So let's see it. So if you have a is equal to 100, b is equal to 20, print a if a is greater than b. In our case, yes, a is greater than b. So what if we are having 100? So print a if a is greater than b. This condition is not true. Else print equal to, which is true, is b equal to b. So that's why it's printing b. Equal to, what if b is greater than a? We are telling print equal to if a and b are equal. What if b is greater than a? Then it will print b, telling us that b is greater than a. So this is how you can use multiple if and else statement. You can go for further in exploration of this stuff by yourself, so you can get better understanding how these things are actually working. However, we have already discussed most of the important stuff. Let's read out this documentation so we can get little more understanding of it. When to use shorthand if. Shorthand if statement and ternary operator should be used when the condition and actions are simple. It's important improve code readability. You want to make a quick assignment based on condition. Important note you have to keep in mind. While shortened if statement can make code more concise, avoiding reuse them for complex conditions. For readability, use regularly if and else statement when dealing with multiple lines of code or logic, complex logics. So here is an exercise. What is another name of one line if and else statement? Ternary operator. We already have discussed that. It's called ternary operator. Yeah, it's right. So we have successfully completed this section. Now let's move on towards the logical operators. Python logical operators. So logical operator used to combine conditional statements. Python has three logical operators: and, or, not. What and does? And is a keyword which used to return the true if both statements are true. Or a keyword used to return the true if one of the statement is true. And not reverse the result, returns false if the result is true. So it will oppose the result. So the AND operator, the keyword is a logical operator and it is used to combine conditional statements. Both conditions must be true for the entire expression to be true. So if you have two statements, like if the switch is on and there is current in the circuit, these both conditions should be true to the light should be uh, glow. So light should be on. If for any of these two conditions, like if switch is not on and we have current in the circuit, so it will not on the light. So this is how it's work. So let's see it how it's work actually. So if we copy this, and before that we have to know that how it's working. So test if A is greater than B. We have three different variables which contain different values and we are comparing them. So in this case you can see that so we are telling that A is greater than B, okay, and we are also telling that C is greater than A. So A is greater than B is okay because it's actually, and C is greater than A. It's also right. So both conditions are true. So what it will does, it will give us, okay, that makes sense. Both conditions are true. So this is how AND work. So if we talk about the OR, and we have before OR, we if we change the statement like C is smaller than A, here the one condition is false because C is greater than A. So one condition is true and second condition is false, makes the whole expression to be false. So here is called OR condition. What OR will do, OR will oppose or will show up that one condition is true. So if this is true or this is true, if one from these both is true, then this will run. It will not depend on both. Expression must be true. It should depend. It will be depending on if one expression is true, then it will move forward. We can also do that like if we put B is smaller than A, and in this case both condition is true, so it will still do the same. So we can also use here an operator. So what it will does, it will give the answer. But if we use not condition, what it will does, it will give an error. So for using the and of not operator, we should, I think, had to have not here. Then we should have this something like this. Let's try out. It is not printing anything because it's not true. So it is just opposing the stuff. So if we copy this whole stuff, we can see our expression is actually telling that our stuff is false. However, inner this value is true and it's just opposing the stuff. So that's why it is not printing something. So if we run this, we get the false, hopefully. However, we are not getting some output. Let's give it to ChatGPT and it will fix out what the errors coming into the Cool. So ChatGPT is also useful for checking the bug, an issue is arising in our code base. So only used for debugging, not for full code creation and all stuff. So what it does mean, so it's making it false, that's why it's not printing anything. So if we remove this stuff, so you will see what the result is. Mm, it is making its opposite, that's why it's not printing. So we should make it true. So it will false, so it will oppose it and make it correct. So if we run this, statement becomes true, and now it's telling it's true because why is this going to be true? If we run this, what will be the output? Let's see. It's printing nothing. So hopefully you all understand. However, I don't understand what is happening. And the OR operator. We already used the OR operator, so I hope you can do it by yourself. It is little hard for me to tell each stuff for you. So I tried to finish everything as much as possible. So test if A is not greater. So how to use the not operator? We know how to use OR operator. Now it's time to learn not operator. So it will change the true statement to not. So however, in our case, we are telling that A is greater than B. It's not true. So it's actually not true. So it's become true, and it's uh, it's something like we are telling that uh, Ali is good, but it's a false news. And if we find out it's a false, it's a correct false. What correct? The news is correct that Ali is lying. So in this case, it is same happening. So A is not greater than B. It's actually not greater. So it's true that it's not greater than B. So it print that. If we run this, it will not print that because A is not greater than B. So this is just similar and it will be more useful in our coming up session. But for now, it's not more important. You can try out this stuff by yourself. If you get any error, you can talk to me or comment me. I will be definitely going to answer you. So this is all about this uh, logical operator. You can try out by yourself, explore the stuff by yourself, and hopefully you will get better understanding. Instead of doing all this stuff by myself, now I'm trying to push yourself also to learn more in depth. So what does the AND operator require? And at least one condition, all condition must be true, not false. Yeah. So now it's time to go for the nested if expression. Now in this section, we are going to learn Python nested if. What is nested if? If you have a if condition and inside that if condition you have another if condition, that it means if you have a nested if statement. So you can have if statement inside if statement. This is called nested if statement. So how does it work? We can find out. So we can run this code to understand. So you know that we already have used this. If x is greater than 10, then it will print about 10. But now we have to have if condition inside an if condition. This is our if condition, and we have another if condition inside it, where we are telling that if x is greater than 20, print and 10 is about 10, uh, and also above 20. If it's not happen, it will print something else. So you can send about 10 and also about 20. So these both conditions are true. What if we have 11? Then this condition is true because it's greater than 10, and now this condition is not true, so it will print this one. But now about 20. So what if we have 1? So this first condition is not true, so this will not execute. So for that we can have else condition not here, but we should have as uh, here with this alignment. It means we have this else statement which is telling us that where we can tell that print um, below 10. So we can understood what will be. If this condition is not true, then this condition will defaultly true. So in this example, the inner if statements only runs if the outer condition x is greater than 10 is true. So if x is greater than 10 is true, then it will run this statement. But if it's not, it will just output this statement. So how nested if works? Each level of nesting creates a deeper level of decision making, and the code evaluates from the outcomes outmost condition inward. So second, multiple condition nested. We already have done that, but let's see how bigger a code can be run. So if you have an age of 25 and has a license is true, then we had a condition. In many software it's happen, you maybe relate to them. Based on particular data, we make particular decisions. So here what we are telling that if age is greater or equal to 18, then this statement should work. This statement which is containing from starting with here, it will be executed. Otherwise, this one will execute. So in our case, it's greater than 20, 18. So if license is true, you can drive. You can drive. It's become true because the license is true. So if we make license false, then result will be different. You can have, you can see that. So if you're 25 years and you don't have the license, so however this condition is true that age is greater than 18, and if license is not because it's false, so it will not execute. That statement will execute. So what that statement tell us, you need a license to drive the car. So you need a license. However, if your age is smaller than 18, what will happen? It will say that you are too young to drive. So this is how it's work, and hopefully you understand and you can try out by yourself. Multiple level of nesting. What kind of that? We will look forward to it. You can nest as many level deep as needed, but keep in mind that too many levels can make code harder to read. So there are three level of nesting. Let's try out this so we can better understand what is happening here. If we run this, we have more line of code, and we have three variables. One is the score, second is the attendance, and third is the submitted. And let's make it more clearer. So if score is greater than 60 or equal to 16, this condition will execute. Otherwise, it will not execute. So in our case, we can see that score is greater than 60. So it's also check the attendance is greater than 80. Yeah, it's so it will go for further condition. So you can see that we have nested inside a nested and inside a nested if statement. So we are nesting multiple nested in just like branches. So you can see that, and if all the stuff match, if submit is true, then it will go for pass with good standing. If false, so what it will do, it will pass but missing assignment. Assignment is missing. You are fail. If we have, we don't have this, so we don't have any condition for that. So try to create that condition for this pass with low attendance. Actually, we had. You can see that if we is studying that you are passed but low attendance. And what if we also have less score? Then it will tell us we failed. So I hope I will not go for failing. Anybody not wants to get failed, but without failing, you will never learn. Nested if versus logical operators. Sometimes nested if statement can be simplified using logical operators like and. The choice depends on the your logic. If you have something like this condition where temperature, where you have variable which contain a number, and if it's sunny, it's a boolean variable, so it's telling true. So if you have the temperature greater than 20, if sunny is true, it's obviously it's true. We have declared it, so it is a perfect beach weather. So it will tell us perfect beach weather. So if we have 15, then we don't have any condition for it. So we can create condition for it also. Likewise, for the else statement, so perfect on whether if we want to have else statement here, then we can have default also. Uh, temperature is lower. So if we run this, what will we get? The last statement will run. Temperature is low. But if we increase the stuff 25, then it will say perfect beach weather. If it becomes false, then what will it say? It will say perfect home weather. So this is how we can use nested if statement and other stuff. However, we have used the logical operator here. You can see that. You can also try out with the AND operator, which will make
And
easier. Your program will be easier. So both approaches produce the same result. Use nested if statement when the inner logic is complex or depend on the outer condition. Use AND when both conditions are simple and equally important. So more example you can explore here. You can run out this whole code so you can better understanding of how it's working. So here is an exercise. What is a nested if statement? So and if statement inside another if statement. Nested multiple statement is the same level and if statement with multiple. The first one is right. So yeah, that's it. Let's move on towards the past statement and explore this one. Python past statement. What is Python past statements? If statement cannot be empty, but if you for some reason have an if statement with no content, put in the past statement to avoid getting an error. So what is a past statement? It is just simple as it is. So let me clean up this backstop first. So if you don't have any stuff like if you have a if statement and if you don't have coincidentally any stuff to execute, if you run this, then it will show an error. So for avoiding getting an error, we just write pass. What means that it should be passed. This statement will be passed and it will not show any error. However, why it is helpful for us? So if you not put the pass and you have something like a print statement you want to print out after this condition, so basically this condition shows an error, so you have to give pass, and when you run it, it means this condition is complete and it moves towards next output, and it's displaying the stuff, and it will not show any error in your uh, program. The pass statement is a null operation. Nothing happens when it executes. It serves as a placeholder, so you have to keep in mind. Why use pass? The pass statement is useful in several situations. When you are creating code structure but have not implemented the logics yet, and when a statement is required syntactically but no action is needed, as a placeholder for future code during the development in empty functions or classes that you plan to implement later. Pass in development. During development, you might want to sketch out your program structure before implementing the details. The pass statement allows you to do without syntax errors. So placeholder for the future implementation. So you can keep this, and if still you can go for another condition like else. So else will run if you put the indentation correctly. Otherwise it will also show an error. So if you put the indentation, it will now work, I hope. It's still not working. Let's put the proper indentation. So temperature is greater than 20, so it's passing because this condition is true. So if we make the condition false, then it will tell us the perfect breach value. So yeah, it is how it's work. Pass versus command. A command is ignored by Python, but pass is an actual statement that keep execute. So it does nothing. You need pass, where Python expect a statement, not just a command. This will cause an error. So if you put a command to avoid an error after your conditional, then the command will be not considered by the backend and it will throw an error to you. So instead of that, you have to put the pass if you don't have any stuff inside the condition to display. So this is the best way you can do that. Pass with multiple conditions. You can put pass in multiple conditions where you want, where you doesn't have anything to display or execute. Pass in other contexts. We can use pass in functions, but we doesn't have explored the function yet. But in the function section, we will be exploring this kind of stuff in depth. So let's move on towards next thing. What does the pass statement do? It skips the entire if statement. Yeah, I think it's the only correct answer. It's a wrong answer. It's a full null operation. Nothing happens. Rises an error. No, it's correct now. So sometimes I also do fast work, so it causes some error. Here we have a challenge. If we do the challenge, we already know how Python work and other stuff. So Python if and else coding challenge. Challenge if else basic. Test your understanding of if else and shorten a if statement. So we have this one. Okay. So inside the editor, complete the following. You can go for this W3 school assignment and you can try out by yourself. Create a variable as with 20. Do the stuff which are mentioned. This challenge is for you, not for me. I know how to write, but it's best practice for you to do by yourself. So we can see the challenge, but stop the video here. Be honest and do it by yourself. However, I'm showing the solution. Yeah, that's how it's work. It's pretty much simple. So hopefully you have done it by yourself. If not, then don't worry, try it by yourself again. So thank you for watching of our if and else statement, conditionals, basically Python, we will move on towards the next section.